Distortion Electric Guitar vague gain intensity turns the mix into noise. So tell me, are crunch, overdrive, and distortion just three names for the exact same idea? Well, actually, no. They are not quite the same thing. We are sinking our claws into the really heavy stuff today. And trust me, the details make all the difference in the world. Just look at this massive, beautiful prompt. Distortion, electric guitar, high gain, saturated tone, heavy palm muted riff, aggressive pick attack, tight low end chug, E minor, 120 BPM. You could literally copy that straight into Suno right now and hit generate. But hold your pause, don't run off just yet, because I'm gonna walk you through every single perfectly crafted bit of this prompt right now. Okay, let's start with the absolute basics. While a crunch tone barely tips over the edge, and overdrive crosses that line, distortion sits all the way at the wild, far end of the gain spectrum. It crushes the audio signal so incredibly hard that almost all of the original dynamics completely disappear. Hit the strings super hard or super soft, it doesn't matter. The volume gets completely flattened into the exact same massive wall. And that extreme compression, that is exactly what builds the heavy, roaring wall of sound behind hard rock and heavy metal. Now, let's look at the actual physics behind this tone, because it is super cool. Distortion is created by pushing a signal through transistor or digital circuitry hard enough to literally clip it. Think of it like taking a smooth, curvy sound wave from a tube amp and scratching it down into a harsh, aggressively chopped square-like shape. Because it chops the wave so aggressively, the overtones sound sharper and rawer, completely unlike any acoustic instrument. That squarish waveform instinctively registers as intense or even a little threatening to our ears, making it the ultimate match for rebellious, aggressive lyrical themes. It really lets those angsty emotions scream. If you listen to a classic heavy metal riff, the sheer weight becomes obvious immediately. A low, driving riff rides on top of that crush signal like an absolute beast. The riff itself is built specifically around this tone. By using short, repetitive phrases, composers keep that sheer heavy weight concentrated, ready to pounce, instead of letting the energy scatter everywhere. And you know what the most amazing part is for us creators? You can pull that exact massive sound straight out of Suno without having to hunt it down in expensive plugins or complex software elsewhere. It's all right there at your fingertips. And hey, while you're thinking about how cool that is, go ahead and hit subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my AI music secrets. So, looking back at our super prompt, I have a really critical question for you. Why did we specifically choose E minor and 120 BPM for this heavy music prompt? Like, what makes those two elements such a magical pairing? Well, here is the secret sauce. E minor lines up perfectly with a standard guitar's absolute lowest open string, making it the go-to choice for the heaviest riffs. And 120 BPM, that sits right at the typical pacing for heavy metal. It's fast enough to drive the track forward, but it still leaves enough room for the riff's sheer weight to land properly. When you feed Suno that specific key and tempo, it automatically reaches for low-end, focused hard rock and metal patterns. The virtual drums lock into an awesome double kick feel, the bass moves in total unison with the guitar, and the whole mix ends up thick as a brick wall. So the absolutely crucial phrase here is tight, low-end chug. This matters way more than people expect. A chug is that percussive, palm-muted rhythm pattern played right on the low strings. Without specifically naming this rhythm, Suno might just lazily arrange long, sustained, boring power chords. That single phrase decides how tight and driving the riff actually feels. By palm muting harder, you make each hit shorter, and the total silence between those hits makes the very next one strike even harder. It's so cool. And this brilliantly illustrates a massive issue creators run into constantly. If you just write the word distorted without specifying the intensity, Suno picks an arbitrary point on that huge gain spectrum, and your riff often turns into a muddy, noisy mess in the low end. Yuck. The fix is naming the intensity directly. Combining high gain saturated tone with tight low end chug keeps your low ends completely tight and punchy instead of collapsing into a big pool of sonic mud. You know, in the real world, producers find distortion genuinely tricky to mix. If you push the gain too hard on a real amp, the low frequencies start fighting each other into mush. But push it too soft and it barely reaches overdrive territory and sounds totally weak. Studio engineers spend hours tweaking EQ and gain staging, chasing that perfect balance point. But our magic phrase, high gain saturated tone combined with tight low end chug, gets Suno there instantly, in just one single phrase. Oh, and here's one more amazing music theory detail for you. distortion shines far, far more on power chords or single note riffs than on full standard chords. If you run a standard 3-note triad through heavy distortion, all those complex overtones just collide and sound terrible. But a power chord has a much simpler harmonic structure, meaning it stays totally clear even at really high gain. Naming power chord-based riffing directly in your prompt gets you a much heavier, cleaner, and way more accurate result. And one last, tiny but mighty detail. Do not skip the words aggressive pick attack. How hard the virtual pick strikes the string completely shapes the tone's overall aggression and defines the very first impression of the riff. It gives the sound its teeth. If you leave it out, Suno might arrange something way softer than you intended. And we definitely don't want that when we're trying to melt faces, right?
All right, you have the ultimate heavy metal formula. Go copy that exact prompt right now, paste it in, and really listen to the massive difference it makes. But it kind of makes you wonder, if just a few specific words can completely reshape a virtual guitar amp, what other instruments is Suno hiding behind secret vocabulary? Drop a comment below if your track sounds huge, and if this explainer helped you level up your AI music skills, please hit that subscribe button. Stay curious, keep creating, and catch you later, nya.
Carrying something heavy since the day I let it slide. Told myself it wasn't serious, just a crack I'd leave inside. Now the walls are showing something I kept painting over white, and the weight of what I didn't fix then finds me every single night. This is the weight of it, the thing I never named, the price of walking past it. It's always the same. I didn't break it all at once. It went piece by piece. This is the weight of it, and it never finds relief. I've seen men fold under nothing, and I swore that wasn't me. Nothing has a way of stacking into something you can't see, till the morning asks a question that you've been avoiding long, and the answer's in the mirror of everything you got wrong. This is the weight of it, the thing I never named, the price of walking past it is always the same. I didn't break it all at once. It went piece by piece. This is the weight of it, and it never finds relief. Maybe carrying it was easier than setting it down and seeing what's there. Maybe I kept moving forward because stopping felt too much like a prayer.